on to the second type of speech structure then, unless there's any other questions. Good. Okay, this one's called the journey. This involves taking your audience on a journey to your key message, the key take-home message you want to give to the audience. In more detail, it looks like this, all right? This X here represents that key message, the take-home point. But to get there, we need to go through a three-step process. 3 steps which are all interconnected and bring us closer towards that key message at the end each time. In step 1, you want to introduce. You want to introduce the topic or concept, whatever you're going to be talking about. In step 2, you want to relate. Why is this important to the audience? And then step 3, you want to apply. You want to show the audience what it directly applies to them, how it can affect their lives, or what your product or service can do for them. All right? I'll give you a little example of a speech I've done in the past. This speech was all about doing before feeling, effectively taking action first before allowing your emotions to affect your decision making. And I started off in step 1 by using a big global event, which involved Felix Baumgartner, who is an Austrian daredevil, jumping from outer space and skydiving back down to planet Earth. Does anyone remember this? It happened in 2012? Yeah, quite a big deal. But the interesting thing about this story is that conditions weren't perfect. The weather conditions were quite bad. Felix himself was ill. But regardless of how he felt, he jumped anyway. He jumped anyway. And that introduced the theme to my speech of doing before feeling. That was how I introduced it. To show how it related to the audience, I brought it from a big global event to something which happened in my life. I spoke about my first ever time speaking in public, like I told you earlier. And the reason I did that was I was speaking at a speakers club, so they can all relate to that because they've experienced it as well. And how that relates to that big global event is that everything in my body and mind was telling me not to go up that day, not to go up to the front. But I did it anyway. And it was probably the best decision I've made in my life. So that's how I bridged the gap there. And then finally, for apply, I spoke 2 slides back there, sorry. Apply went directly to the audience. I spoke how this can affect their lives. Maybe times when they've let their emotions dictate their actions, whether it be going to the gym, doing that extra work which really needs to be done, or helping people, even when it's inconvenient. And then I showed them that action is what you need to do to progress forward. And that came nicely to my final key message at the end there of doing first and feeling later. Can you see how that structure worked for that speech there? Yeah? Is that clear? Fantastic. So this can work for any type of speech really you do. If it's a keynote, a personal story, maybe these are 3 stories from your life which are all interconnected by the same message at the end. If it's a sales presentation, you want to introduce your product or service. Then you want to show the audience how it relates to them. Perhaps talk about past customers. Use testimonials, how other customers have benefited to show the audience that they can too benefit from that service. And then lastly, apply. Talk to the audience about how it will directly apply to them. If it's accountants, talk about how accountants will benefit. If it's business owners, talk about how they will benefit. Are they going to save time? Are they going to save money? Are they going to reduce stress? Is that clear for everyone there? So regardless of what speech structure you choose, the main point is to use a speech structure because that is what will determine the quality of your speech.
Sorry, Carl, just writing a note there. So a quick question. So the apply then, is it a bit like what's in it for them?
Yes. This is where you want to talk to the audience directly. How is what you're saying actually going to help them? That's when you get direct, yeah. This is just relating, introducing it in a way as well, again, showing them how it's applicable to them, and then apply is going direct. Yeah, this is how I'm going to help you because of this, this, and this. Does that make sense? Perfect.
So if you're coaching someone, really, it might be how you do it. Coach them to do it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So use any speech structure. Use Winston Churchill's, use the movie, use the journey. Whatever one you do, just make sure you use a speech structure. It's the key point here. You need to have that, otherwise your speech is going to be all over the place. All right? Let's move on to pillar number 2 then, which is body language.